Many people quietly carry this question inside them. Why do I feel like a burden to others? And you might notice it in small moments. Maybe you hesitate before asking for help. Maybe you downplay what you need. Maybe you apologize for things that don't really require an apology. You might even catch yourself thinking, I don't want to bother anyone. I shouldn't ask for too much. I don't want to be a burden. Over time, this feeling becomes so familiar that it starts to feel like a personality trait. But in many cases, feeling like a burden is not about who you are, it's about what your nervous system learned in relationships earlier in life. Hello, everyone. I'm Janine Naus, Grief and Trauma Relief Specialist. I'm really glad you're here with me today. And whether you're joining live or watching the replay, in today's Healing Step session, we're going to explore why the feeling of being a burden often develops after difficult relational experiences, how shame can attach itself to having needs, and how to begin rebuilding safety around asking for support. Now, to understand why this pattern develops, we first need to look at how the nervous system learns to interpret needs inside of relationships. And when someone feels like a burden, it usually doesn't start with a single moment. Instead, it develops gradually through repeated relational experiences. In some environments, growing up, emotional needs were not always welcomed or supported. Sometimes caregivers were overwhelmed. Sometimes emotional responses were minimized. And sometimes a child learned that expressing distress created tension in the room. And when that happens, the nervous system begins forming a quiet conclusion. My needs cause problems. A child may begin to notice that asking for help leads to frustration, or that expressing emotions leads to dismissal, or that needing comfort seems to create inconvenience for someone else. And over time, the nervous system adapts in order to maintain connection. And instead of expressing needs freely, a child may begin to reduce them. They may become the one who doesn't ask for much, the one who tries not to upset anyone, the one who manages their feelings quietly. This adaptation helps relationships remain stable in the moment, but the nervous system remembers the message it learned. Needing support creates pressure for others, and that belief can quietly follow someone into adulthood, which brings us to the next layer of this pattern. How shame can begin attaching itself to ordinary human needs. Once the nervous system learns that expressing needs may create tension or inconvenience, something subtle begins to develop. Needs start to feel unsafe, not logically unsafe, but emotionally uncomfortable. So instead of simply recognizing a need for support, reassurance, help, or even rest, the mind may begin interpreting that need as something negative. Thoughts may appear such as, shouldn't ask for that. They already have enough going on. I don't want to be difficult. And over time, those thoughts can turn into a deeper internal belief. My needs are too much. And when that belief forms, something important happens in relationships. Instead of feeling allowed to receive care, someone may begin working very hard not to require it. They become extremely independent. They handle things alone. They avoid asking for help even when support would be healthy. And from the outside, this can look like strength, but internally, it can create a sense of isolation because every person needs moments of support, reassurance, and connection. And when the nervous system interprets those needs as burdensome, it becomes very difficult to allow others to show up for you. Which brings us to the final and most hopeful part of this conversation: how to begin rebuilding safety around having needs. And once we understand where the burden feeling developed, the goal is not to force yourself to suddenly ask for everything you need. Healing often begins with something much gentler. It begins with awareness. When you notice the thought, I don't want to be a burden, just pause for a moment and then ask yourself a quiet question. Is this truly a burden, or is it simply a human need? Every person has needs. Every person requires support at times. Every person benefits from connection. Having needs does not make someone difficult or inconvenient. It makes them human. And rebuilding safety around needs often happens gradually through small experiences. Perhaps allowing yourself to ask for help with something minor. Perhaps sharing something you're feeling with someone you trust. Now, each time your nervous system experiences support without rejection, something begins to shift. The old belief that needing support creates problems slowly begins to soften. And in its place, a new understanding can grow. Relationships can include both giving and receiving, which brings us to the way we gently close today's conversation. Now, if you ever found yourself thinking, I don't want to be a burden, then please know that this feeling is very common among people who have experienced difficult relational environments. And at some point in your life, reducing your needs may have helped maintain stability or connection. Your nervous system learned that strategy for a reason. But needing care, support, or understanding does not make someone a burden. Those needs are a part of being human. I want to thank you for joining me in today's Healing Step session and for taking a few minutes to explore something many people carry quietly. Now, if this conversation brought recognition for you, even in a small way, that awareness matters. And if you've ever liked a calm, private space to explore patterns like this more deeply, I offer healing clarity sessions. Now, these are gentle one-on-one conversations, and they're there to help you. So it's just a steady place to explore your experiences and begin rebuilding clarity and self-trust. Now, there's no urgency, no pressure, just support when you feel ready. And remember this: having needs does not make you a burden. It makes you human. Thank you for being with me today, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.